Welcome to Professionals and Coffee, where we delve into the world of integrated marketing and public relations. I'm your host, Carolina, and today we have a special guest with us, Yasmine El Shafei, Partner and VP Strategy and Business Development at Multiplier Consultancy. Joining me is Saurabh Rathore, a seasoned communications professional with over 15 years of experience crafting and executing comprehensive communication campaigns throughout his career. Welcome both.
Thank you, Karina.
Hi, Saurabh.
Hi, Yasmin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. So thank you for joining us, Yasmin, today. Before we dig deeper into today's conversation about personal branding for businesses, please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. You've worked in the communications industry for the past 15 years. So how do you remember your time when you first started your journey in this field, and what were the challenges that you faced, when you came into this field?
Yeah, it's funny because when I started working in the communication and PR field, I have no clue. I have no clue. How does this work? What does it mean? I always had the perception about the PR, like those fancy ladies, doing some public relations for companies. And I didn't really understand the importance of the art behind dealing with communication and public relations back then. That's my first encounter with the public relations. And I think throughout the years, I managed to understand it more and clarify that it's the art, if I can tell it. It's not even handling external relations or handling just the communications at the level of individual or entrepreneur or a corporate, but it's where you make the perceptions about the company or about the business equals to its reality. That's really the intent, if I can say, of communication and public relations at large.
All right. Okay. Yasmin, you work at Multiplier Consultancy, right? And
Yeah.
you work with clients and agencies to set their growth strategies for their businesses, So what's the area where you feel these companies, need most assistance when they come to you? What is it that they come to you for? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, there are always two areas. Let me first, maybe I can a little bit glimpse about what Multiplier Consultancy does, because it's a broad spectrum of business services that includes the marketing communication as part of it. And that's when I joined Multiplier, I added this part to it. So it's basically the business consultancy where it offers setting growth strategies for corporate startups and entrepreneurs in general, working on organizational development and health assessments of different corporates, including their HR consultancies, training and development of leadership, executive coaching and C-suite training, and the marketing communication. Now, regarding of the consistent requests or the areas or bottlenecks that we always face with our clients, or our clients come to us or reach to us to solve them, is always to develop two things, actually. First, to develop clarity on their vision and their strategy and their path of growth. And the second thing is to develop the right systems. I won't say the right goals, because all of us and all corporates, they do have their own goals. So it's not about only having goals in place, but in having the right systems and processes that enable the whole organization to move towards this goal and vision.
Yasmin, you spoke about, and well, you have plenty of experience in terms of branding this topic. I was wondering if you could define personal branding in your own words and explain its importance in today's professional landscape.
Well, it's a very interesting question, Carolina. Let me start. I love one of my mentors in the communication field, and her name is Maha Abulanin. She's handling or managing a full agency called Digital and Savvy. And she always, when she speaks about personal branding, and I'll have to quote her here, she calls it like it's a person's currency. And I really love this word because it's a very simple word, and it explains it really focused and to the point. It's a person's currency. So it's how you want people to see you, perceive you, and feel about your background, your experience, and everything that you do, whether you are a company or you are a person or a leader. In the terms of personal branding, if I make it work for leaders or managers, I always tell my clients that it's not a luxury anymore to have a personal brand. It's actually a requisite being a successful leader, because brands, any company or brands, they do not have a voice, but you can always voice their achievements and milestones and even their CSR work through their people. So their people, including their leaders, are the voices of those brands. And they are the ones who make the target audience feel and connect with the brand differently. So that's why it's very crucial to have personal branding for leaders or for entrepreneurs or any startup. And it's very important alike for companies to have their branding also, or their thought, or create a thought leadership branding, as we call it, among peers and among competition and at the industries in which they operate.
Okay. Actually, my next question, I think you have already answered that, but because my question was, according to you, how important is it for entrepreneurs or business to have personal branding, which you already answered, very important. But I would like to add another question. What do you suggest they start with when they are beginning as an entrepreneurs?
Okay, that's an interesting question too. They first need to have a why, have a strong why. Why are they doing this? Why are they having a personal brand at the first place? What do they need a personal brand? So if they have first a clear why, why are they doing this? That's number one. Number two, they should define their target audience, because not all, if I have already, or I communicate on social media, or I have even network within my LinkedIn, and I want to start to create a person, and I should assess the kind of target audience I have right now and think about who are the most important to me, because I need to tailor my content or come up with the content that really drive their attention. And who are the target audience that I need to catch, that I need to catch. So maybe they're not existent now, or they're not in connection with me, but I want them to connect with me in the future. So I need also to have a vision about who my target audience, my ideal target audience is. So that's number two. Number three, I should define my persona. How do I want people to see me and perceive me and feel about me when I share an experience? Do I want them to get inspired? Do I want them to get motivated? Do I want to share my experience in a technical know-how or a technical job that I do? So it differs from one another, and it's very important to define the persona of the person. And the final thing I would say, the value I'm bringing to this target audience, because we are, let me call it this way, we suffer now from the infobicity. There are a lot of information and a lot of content everywhere. And I know that most of the people who works on social media would say content is king, but for me, it's not content is king, it's the experience and the way that you connect with people that really hooks them in what you say and makes them really attracted to what you say. So it has to be very authentic. It has to have value. It has to be relatable to the person, because I can easily believe a person and not believe him or her from their content. So it has to be very authentic. It has to really be relatable to their experiences and background, and it has to have a value for the audience. It needs to have value sharing.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it has to be genuine, authentic.
Exactly. That's what I meant exactly, Carolina, but by having it authentic. Like, it has to come from the person's background, the experience, and when they speak, you need to feel the passion they speak about. So it's their content. It's not another agency or another communicator who's helping them. It has to be their own content, even if someone is helping to make it visually appealing for the audience, or handling it or managing it in a best way, but it has to be related and express the person's interest and genuine persona.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We're getting a lot of interesting insights from you, Yasmine. So my next question is regarding, some criticism that companies often face. They often have to walk a tightrope these days, when it comes to their branding on social media, because, some followers really react strongly to what they post. So how do you think companies, should handle negative feedback or criticism related to their personal branding?
Yes, it has two ways. If I'm talking about, because you have persons related to the company who brand themselves, so it can be a manager or a CEO of the company, and that's different than the company itself. So if it's a personal brand, I would say you need to be monitoring a lot the feedback, and you need to split the feedback into what is a destructive and constructive feedback. Because sometimes if I am influencer, for instance, and I receive a lot of feedback, some of my target audience might really care about me. So sometimes their feedback actually might be constructive, and others might be totally destructive. So monitoring the feedback and really identify the type of feedback, that's very important. Okay. The other way, if it's personal and influential, then I should be also very professional when I answer this back. So, because also I need to understand that others are watching on social media. So it's not only the person whom I'm addressing, but there are a lot of followers and a lot of other target audience that I cannot control and I do not see at that moment, but they can still read my comment or watch my video. So it has to be very professional, not personal, and not like I'm specifically pinpointing to some person. The It's totally different when it comes to companies at large, because at the company's level, companies should be very patient. Sometimes if we're talking about big multinationals and FMCGs, for instance, they really get attacked on daily basis on social media. So I should not respond to every single comment or every single criticism that I receive. I should be patient. I should have a very good monitoring, because I need to assess the situation really proactively and act according to it in a proactive manner. I really advise my clients always to have an issue or risk management manual. And even though it's a bit challenging, because some people and some companies, they think that this is very theoretical and they will never use it. But no, they actually need to use it if it's an issue management that it's done professionally by an experienced communicator. They will use it definitely, because it will assess, and not only they will use it in case of crisis, but it can actually help them evaluate the situation and assess the situation ahead, and even solve issues before they arise, and they tend to be noticed by others. So That's why I advise them to have this. And of course, if a crisis happens, then we need to be alert. We need to have a crisis team in place, and we need to have everything ready. So if there are statements to be written, if there are monitoring tools to be in place, if there are spokespersons to be trained, because they can be asked a question, they can be asked to have a TV intervention or even speak on social media. So they need to be very well trained on what to say and what not to say.
Great. You made a really valid point about training the spokespeople of the company and having a crisis communication plan in place.
Yes.
My next question is about, the challenges. I mean, you've handled so many companies or individuals over the past 15 years, so what are the kind of challenges or obstacles you have faced in building or let's say maintaining, their personal branding and, how you have overcome them, these kind of challenges?
Yes, that's a very interesting question, Surab. So let me tell you, if it's related to handling a crisis, you mean, within a personal branding. I think that number one challenge, I mentioned that not all companies really believe in the importance of having an issue or risk management manual in place and assessing the different scenarios that a corporate or a multinational or even a startup can have as a bug that can lead to a communication crisis. So that's number one. Number two, the awareness at the team level, because in big corporations, you have different teams, and not every team has the same vision. So let me give you here a bit of an example.
Yeah.
If working on a marketing campaign, and if there is a communication or a situation where you're operating in a country and there is a situation like a war or a political sensitive situation, and the company might be actually it might be in the radar of this political situation. So at this case, if there is a marketing branding, or a new marketing campaign in place, marketing teams should be listening to the communicator, to the business communicator or the communication team at that perspective, and maybe postpone the marketing campaign, or maybe focus it differently, maybe on CSR, maybe on social initiatives, not necessarily to take the same intent or cause it was supposed to do. So sometimes the teams between working together within the same corporation, they are not aligned, and not everyone on those teams are at the same level of awareness. I think another challenge would be the role of the business communicator within the company, or the role of the communication department within the company. And that's very important. And I believe that a lot of communicators would relate to that, because sometimes the business communicator within the company struggles to make other departments and other teams and other leaders to believe that this is not the right step to do right now, or this is not the right message that you should come up in a video, or in a town hall, even internally, or even in a media encounter, and say this message. So I think this is another challenge, to educate different leaders in different departments on the importance of communicators and business communicators within their companies.
All right. All right.
Yes.
So my next question is regarding, measurement. When it comes to PR, and communication, it's always really difficult to measure the perceptual change, because, there's no way to know whether you've
Yes.
been able to, go from X to Y to Z, when it comes to image management.
Yes.
But can you provide any insights into how you measure the effectiveness of your personal branding efforts?
Well, it's a bit tough I would say to measure it, because as I told you, for me, and maybe not for everyone in the communication field, but for me, it's when you realize it's like mathematics. So it's an equation. When you realize that perception is totally equal to reality. So if I see Surab or Carolina on LinkedIn, I need to really feel that, okay, this is the real Surab and this is the real Carolina. That like my perception equals their true reality. And this is very hard to assess. For companies, they might conduct surveys. And actually, I believe in the power of surveys, especially clients, especially for customers, especially for your internal family of a corporation, and really understanding what do they see and how they perceive the brand, whether it's a company or it's a personal branding. So it's one of the leaders. So that's really important. Of course, there are a lot of social media tools to assess this. And if any corporate they have their own agencies that develop their plan, that's that they would work on this, whether in the terms of followers, the amount of engagement, if it's a blog, the amount of bounce back rate, if it's a video, if you watched it till the end or you stopped it at the beginning. All of these are tools to assess if your personal brand is doing good or bad. But I would say it's more of the genuine perception when you meet people and they start to speak with you about, I watched this video and I recognized this message. I love you mentioned this part in the video. Or when you find others coming to you and asking you to come and be featured in a blog or in a podcast or in even contributing in an event and as a speaker in a major event, that's when you feel that you really built a real perception that's probably equal to your real reality. That's how I see it.
All right, got it.
Yasmine, this question that I'm going to ask you is more for people who have just started their careers or are still students. So if one has to get into this area of communication, how should they approach it?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, in terms of where do they go, I'll say here one advice. I never studied at the beginning of my career. I didn't study communication and PR. I used to be an economic researcher, and I did an MBA in finance and strategic management and marketing. I worked for some times as an economic researcher, and then I worked as a marketing researcher for some time. And then I joined the marketing and PR field. So first, it's not rocket science, and you just don't need to study it to work in it. Sometimes you can have an interest and work in it, and it will be like a career shift. Like in my case, it was more of a career shift to me. But if you are in the field and you started, well, within Canada, it's very interesting because you have a lot of communities that you can join. And on top of them, of course, I'm totally biased to it because I'm part of the board of the IABC, which is the International Association for Business Communicators. And of course, I have big loyalty and a big fan of this association because it helped me a lot when I moved to Canada as a new communicator 4 years or 5 years ago. It helped me a lot. It has an amazing community where you can feel they're all like family. You can actually ask advices. It provides a lot of services like mentorship services, a lot of services like volunteering services. And this actually makes you in real contact with a lot of experts from different fields, whether internal comms, accessibility communication, or even external communication and PR, journalists and media relations. So it's really wide expertise there where you can really engage differently. You can be a judge in Ovation Awards, you can be a volunteer, you can be a mentee for a mentor, and you can actually also even attend a lot of webinars and professional development activities and events that we organize. So I think IABC is really one of the very important, if I say, associations in Canada and the world, because it's a worldwide and a global association. But the Toronto chapter is one of the biggest worldwide, and we're very proud about this. So that's really key. I think that another advice that I would give to new communicators or early careers, do not be afraid and do not be shy to ask and to network and to connect with someone that you see on social media or on LinkedIn, in a speech or in a podcast or even in an article that you read. Just reach out, and most of the people are very genuine, especially those who are very keen on building their personal brand. If they are real communicators and very genuine people, as we were just mentioning, they would be open, even if they're very senior, they would be open for anyone to reach out to and to, to share knowledge and to share value, because they do this actually on their social media. So if they were approached by others, they would do that. So don't get shy to do that, and don't get shy to be exposed to new experiences, and even technically within the communication field, because it's a very diverse field. Try as much as possible to witness and to experience it at large. It has a lot of services and a lot of tactics. So you can do lobbying, you can do crisis management, you can do personal branding, you can even do digital campaigns, you can write articles, and you can do media relations. It's really, you can write content and be a content creator. All of this is communication and PR. So I think it's very wide, and I always advise, when I had a team, I used to advise them, and even within my clients, when I work with them, I advise their teams that it's really crucial to tap on to different spectrums of this field and of the communication and PR actually world.
Yeah, there are plenty of things to do within the communication field.
Exactly. It's very entertaining. It's a very entertaining field, really. And I always feel sorry for those who from the start till the end, they witness one aspect of this field and job. I love that you really explore a lot of fields. It's like sports. You explore a lot of things, and then maybe you focus in one unique area.
Yeah, and maybe they will realize, oh, this area is what I like or I prefer most.
100%, exactly, true.
Finally, any social media channels that you, Yasmine and Saurabh, want to share with our audience? Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. If professionally, I communicate a lot on LinkedIn, or I share maybe articles, maybe events that I participate at, or even events that I was inspired, or other leaders that I'm inspired by seeing them. So I sometimes share their quotes, share their articles, share even quotes from books, or even good books that I read. So I think professionally, I'm active on LinkedIn, kind of. I try to build also my personal brand, like I do, and advise my clients. So I think LinkedIn is where I love to meet people, and I'm very open if someone reach out for any question or any advice. And as I told you, I'm really honored to work within IBC and handling the seat on the board of, I'm the VP of volunteering and mentorship. To design, I get a lot of people who want to be mentored within IBC or be among our volunteering family, and I really love to speak with everyone on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Yasmine. And what about you, Saurabh? Thank you so much.
You can find me on LinkedIn with my name. I'm based in Toronto. So they can just connect with me via LinkedIn or via Twitter with the same name. And yeah, I'll be available anytime.
Well, that concludes our conversation with Yasmine El Shafei, Partner and VP Strategy and Business Development at Multiplier Consultancy. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast platforms for more episodes. And join us next time as we explore more topics in the world of public relations, marketing, and communication. And thank you so much, Saura. You made a great job. Until then, take care and bye-bye.